They warned him the serum would end his humanity. Instead, it made him unstoppable. The dying Light Commander Elena Vasquez could taste copper in her mouth as she struggled to breathe. The emergency lights of the mining station cast everything in deep red shadows, making the blood pooling beneath her look almost black. Through the shattered viewport, she could see the twin moons of Kepler 442 hanging in the alien sky, indifferent to her suffering. The attack had come without warning. The Karathi strike team had overwhelmed the colony's defenses in minutes, their crystalline weapons cutting through human armor like tissue paper. Elena had managed to hold the command center long enough for the civilians to reach the escape pods, but the cost had been devastating. A shard of alien weaponry protruded from her abdomen, its edges still glowing with residual energy that prevented her body's natural healing responses. "Commander, stay with me," Dr. Kai Chen said as he knelt beside her. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, applying emergency sealant around the wound, though they both knew it was futile. The young scientist had arrived at the colony only weeks ago, part of a classified research initiative that Elena hadn't been briefed on. Now, in what might be her final moments, she wondered if that secrecy had been worth it. "The others?" Elena managed to ask, each word requiring tremendous effort. "Safe." "The escape pods launched successfully," Chen replied, his dark eyes reflecting both relief and despair. "But we're trapped here. The Karathi disabled our communications and transport." Elena tried to laugh, but only managed a wet cough. "Then we die with honor." "Not necessarily." Chen stood and moved to a reinforced case he'd been protecting throughout the attack. His fingers danced across the biometric locks until it opened with a soft hiss. Inside, a single injector gleamed under the emergency lights, filled with a substance that seemed to shift between silver and deep blue like liquid starlight. "What is that?" Elena asked, though speaking sent fresh waves of agony through her body. Chen returned to her side, the injector held carefully in both hands. "Project Catalyst. It's a molecular reconstruction serum designed to push human evolution forward by several million years in a matter of hours." Elena's vision was starting to blur, but she focused on his face. "You're talking about genetic modification." "Beyond that," Chen said quietly. "This won't just heal you or make you stronger. It will fundamentally alter what you are at the cellular level. The serum activates dormant sequences in human DNA, sequences that connect us to our most primitive ancestors and beyond." "Why haven't I heard about this?" "Because every test subject except one has died or lost their humanity completely," Chen admitted. "The transformation is intense. Those who survive report experiencing reality in ways we can barely comprehend. Enhanced senses, telepathic connections with other life forms, strength and speed that defy physics as we understand it." Elena felt her heartbeat growing weaker. The edges of her vision were turning dark. "And the cost?" Chen's expression was grave. "You'll become something between human and predator. Your emotions will change. Your instincts will be rewired. The woman you are now with all her memories and values might be overwhelmed by something more primal. You might look human, but inside, you'll be something else entirely. Or I die." "In the next few minutes," Elena said, understanding the choice before her. "Yes," Chen said simply. Elena thought of her team, the civilians who'd escaped, the colony that had been destroyed. She thought of the Karathi, who would hunt down the survivors unless someone stopped them. Death would be easier, cleaner. But death would also mean abandoning her duty. "Do it," she whispered. Chen didn't hesitate. He pressed the injector against her neck, and Elena felt the serum enter her bloodstream like liquid fire. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her heart stopped. The darkness that followed wasn't death but transformation. Every cell in her body screamed as it was torn apart and rebuilt. She felt her DNA unraveling and reweaving itself into patterns that had never existed in nature. The pain was beyond description, beyond comprehension. It was the agony of evolution compressed into seconds. Then, suddenly, clarity. Elena's eyes snapped open, but the world she saw was different. The emergency lights no longer cast everything in monochrome red. She could see the full spectrum of radiation they emitted, layers of light invisible to human eyes. She could hear Chen's heartbeat, rapid and concerned, smell the adrenaline in, his sweat mixed with something else, fear, but also fascination. She sat up slowly, her hand going to where the wound had been. The alien shard was gone, dissolved by her new biology, and the flesh beneath was smooth and unmarked. But she could feel the changes went much deeper. Her muscles were denser, her bones restructured with materials that shouldn't exist in a human body. When she flexed her fingers, she noticed her nails had darkened and hardened into something between human keratin and predatory claws. "How do you feel?" Chen asked, maintaining a careful distance. Elena stood, marveling at the fluid grace of the movement. Every motion felt perfect, economical, designed for maximum efficiency. "Different," she said, and her voice carried harmonics it hadn't before. "I can sense things, the electromagnetic fields from the equipment, the vibrations through the floor from the Karathi patrol 3 levels down." 3 levels? Chen checked his scanner. "I'm not reading any." His device beeped suddenly. "You're right. How did you know?" "I can feel them," Elena said, tilting her head as she processed the sensation. "Their biosignatures are different from yours. Crystalline, organized in geometric patterns. They're searching for survivors." She moved to the shattered viewport, her enhanced vision penetrating the darkness outside. The landscape that had seemed dead before now teemed with hidden life. Small creatures burrowed in the regolith, their simple minds broadcasting basic impulses, hunger, fear, the need to hide from larger predators. "I can hear them," she said softly. "Not their sounds, their thoughts. Or something like thoughts." "The serum activated latent telepathic pathways," Chen explained, moving closer, but still cautious. "Humans have the neural architecture for it, but it's been dormant since we developed language. You're experiencing what our ancestors might have felt before we became purely verbal communicators." Elena turned to face him, and she saw him flinch, slightly. "My eyes? They're changing. The pupils are elongating, becoming more vertical, and there's a luminescence, a reflection that wasn't there before." She caught her reflection in a dark screen. Her face was still recognizably hers, but there was something different in its angles, a sharpness that hadn't been there before. Her brown eyes now held flecks of gold that seemed to move like liquid metal. "The Karathi are coming," she said, her new senses tracking their approach. 6 of them, armed with plasma weapons and something else, a scanner designed to detect human biosignatures. "We need to evacuate," Chen said, already packing his equipment. "No," Elena said, and there was something in her voice that made him stop. "They killed my team, destroyed our colony. They think humans are weak, easy prey." She flexed her hands, feeling the new strength in them, the potential for violence that sang through her transformed muscles. But beneath the growing predatory instincts, her human consciousness remained, holding on to duty, honor, and the need to protect those weaker than herself. "Let them come," she said, a smile playing at her lips that was equal parts human determination and predatory anticipation. Time they learned what humans can become when pushed to the edge. Chen watched her with a mixture of awe and concern. "Elena, you're still changing. We don't know how far the transformation will go." She met his gaze, and for a moment the predator receded, leaving only the woman. "Then we'd better make sure I remember who I am. Stay close, Doctor. I have a feeling I'm going to need someone to remind me of my humanity." The sound of the Karathi breach charges echoed through the station. Elena positioned herself in the shadows, her new instincts already mapping attack patterns, identifying weaknesses in their formation. The hunt was about to begin, and for the first time since her transformation, she felt truly alive. Between 2 worlds, the first Karathi soldier never saw Elena coming. She moved through the darkness like a liquid shadow, her transformed body operating on instincts older than civilization. The crystalline being's death was swift and silent, its geometric form crumbling into prismatic dust before it could send a warning to its companions. Dr. Chen watched from his hiding spot behind an overturned console, his scientific mind cataloging every impossible movement. Elena had become something beyond human athletic potential. She didn't just move quickly, she seemed to flow through space, anticipating her enemy's actions before they made them. The remaining 5 Karathi spread out, their harmonic communication filling the air with sounds like breaking glass. Elena could understand them now, her enhanced brain processing their crystalline language as easily as human speech. They were confused, frightened. They'd expected to find wounded humans, not a predator. Target acquired, one of them chimed. Non-standard human signature, possible mutation. Elena smiled from her perch in the ceiling supports. They had no idea what they were dealing with. She dropped behind 2 of them, her hands moving in a blur. The hardened nails that had concerned her earlier proved devastatingly effective against Karathi physiology, finding the weak points where their crystalline segments joined. Both soldiers, shattered before they could react. The remaining 3 opened fire, their plasma weapons turning the air into superheated death. But Elena was already moving, her new senses detecting the energy buildup in their weapons before they discharged. She danced between the bolts, each movement precise and economical. Then something unexpected happened. As she prepared to strike, Elena felt a presence at the edge of her consciousness. Not the Karathi, something else. Native life forms, small scavengers that lived in the station's ventilation system. They were simple creatures, but she could feel their minds, their basic emotions. Without thinking, she reached out to them telepathically. The response was immediate. Dozens of the creatures, resembling metallic rats with too many legs, poured from the vents. They swarmed over the Karathi, not attacking but distracting, their metal bodies interfering with the aliens' targeting systems. Elena used the chaos to close the distance. The last 3 Karathi fell in seconds, their forms scattering into glittering fragments. Silence returned to the station. Elena stood among the remains of her enemies, breathing steadily, not even winded from the exertion. The scavenger creatures gathered around her feet, their simple minds radiating contentment at having helped. Remarkable, Chen said, emerging from his hiding spot. You didn't just fight them. You commanded an army. Elena knelt, extending her hand to one of the creatures. It climbed onto her palm, its metal legs tickling her transformed skin. I asked for help, she said softly. And they answered. I've never felt anything like this connection before. The serum enhanced your bioelectromagnetic field, Chen explained, pulling out his scanner. You're broadcasting on frequencies that most life forms use for basic communication. To them, you must seem like a beacon of consciousness. Elena gently set the creature down, and the swarm dispersed back into the vents. As the adrenaline of combat faded, she became aware of other changes. Her vision kept shifting, showing her heat signatures, electromagnetic fields, even what seemed to be probability patterns in the air, likely paths of movement, optimal positions for attack or defense. It's getting stronger, she said, pressing her palms against her temples. The transformation. I can feel my mind expanding, processing information in ways that don't feel human. Chen approached cautiously, his scanner humming. Your neural activity is unprecedented. New pathways are forming at an exponential rate. But your core brain patterns, the ones that define personality and memory, they're still intact. For now, Elena said. She could feel the predator growing stronger inside her, whispering suggestions that had nothing to do with duty or protection. Hunt, claim territory, dominate. We need to move, she said, pushing those instincts down. The Karathi will send reinforcements when this patrol doesn't report back. They gathered what supplies they could and made their way to Chen's research lab, one of the few areas of the station still fully powered. As they walked, Elena noticed Chen staying consistently 3 meters behind her, maintaining what he probably thought was a safe distance. You're afraid of me, she said without turning around. I'm cautious, Chen corrected. The other test subject, the one who survived, he lasted 6 hours before the predatory instincts overwhelmed his human consciousness completely. He became something magnificent, but utterly inhuman. What happened to him? He escaped the facility. Last reports had him living in the wilderness of Mars, hunting the terraforming crews. He doesn't kill them, just stalks them, like he's forgotten what human connection means. Elena stopped at the lab door, her enhanced hearing detecting something inside. There's someone in there. Heartbeats too rapid to be human. Chen checked his security feed. That's impossible. This lab is... He stopped, his face paling. Oh, no. What? I wasn't the only scientist on this project. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo was supposed to arrive yesterday, but with the attack... He pulled up another feed. She's in there, and she's activated the emergency protocols. They entered to find a woman in a hazmat suit standing beside another case identical to the one that had held Elena's serum. Dr. Okonkwo was tall and lean, with dark skin and eyes that held a mixture of desperation and determination. Stay back, she warned, holding an injector to her own neck. I saw what you did to those Karathi. It was impressive, but you're not human anymore. Dr. Okonkwo, Chen said carefully, put the injector down. You don't understand what it will do to you. I understand perfectly, Okonkwo replied. I've studied the reports. The serum creates perfect soldiers, perfect predators. And right now, that's what humanity needs. Helena stepped forward and Okonkwo pressed the injector harder against her skin. I said stay back. You're right, Elena said, her voice calm. I'm not entirely human anymore, but I'm not entirely inhuman either. The serum doesn't erase who you are. It reveals what you could become. The question is whether you're strong enough to maintain your humanity while wielding that power. Pretty words from someone who just slaughtered 6 beings without breaking a sweat. They killed my team, Elena said simply. They destroyed our colony. I did what was necessary to protect the survivors. That's not predatory instinct. That's human duty. Okonkwo's hand trembled. The reports say the transformation is agony. It is, Elena admitted. It tears you apart and rebuilds you into something new. But the pain ends, and what emerges? I can feel the universe in ways I never imagined. I can hear the thoughts of living creatures, see energy patterns in the air, move in ways that defy physics. It's terrifying and wonderful. And the hunger? Okonkwo asked. The reports mention an overwhelming hunger. Elena nodded slowly. It's there, not for food, but for purpose, for the hunt, for challenge. But it's manageable, as long as you remember why you fight. Chen stepped forward. Sarah, we need rational scientists, not more super soldiers. Put the injector down and help us understand what's happening to Elena. Help us find a balance. For a long moment, Okonkwo stood frozen. Then slowly, she lowered the injector. The Karathi mothership is in orbit, she said. They're preparing for a full invasion. Even with Commander Vasquez's new abilities, we can't stop an entire fleet. Then we need to be smarter, Elena said. The serum is our advantage, but not as a weapon. As evolution, she moved to the lab's main console, her transformed fingers moving across the interface with inhuman speed. The Karathi fear us because they don't understand us. They see chaos where we see adaptability. But what if we could show them that humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to destroy, but our ability to become something greater? You're talking about negotiation? Chen asked, surprised. I'm talking about demonstration, Elena corrected. The Karathi respect power, but they worship efficiency. If we can show them that humanity can evolve beyond their understanding, that we can become something that benefits both species. She trailed off, her head tilting as she sensed something. They're coming. Not soldiers this time, scientists. They want to understand what happened to their patrol. How many? Okonkwo asked. 12. Plus something else. Elena's eyes narrowed. Something that thinks differently from the others. More fluid, less geometric. Their leader, perhaps. Chen looked at the 2 women. We could run. Try to reach the escape pods. Or, Elena said, a plan forming in her enhanced mind, We could show them exactly what humanity is capable of becoming. The hunt begins. The Karathi science team entered the station with careful precision, their crystalline forms refracting the emergency lights into rainbow patterns. Elena watched them from the shadows of the upper maintenance level, her transformed senses reading their biosignatures like a map. Each one moved differently, some with military precision, others with the curiosity of researchers. At their center moved something that made Elena's new instinct scream in recognition, an apex predator of their species. The Karathi commander stood 3 meters tall, its crystalline structure more complex than the others, with facets that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. "Honored Zix," one of the scientists chimed. "The resonance signatures indicate our patrol was destroyed here, but the patterns are unusual." Commander Zix's form shifted, its crystals realigning in what Elena somehow understood was deep thought. Not destroyed, hunted. Something killed them with precision and purpose. In the laboratory below, Chen and Okonkwo monitored the situation through security feeds. "Elena, they're heading your way," Chen whispered into his communicator. "I know," Elena replied, her voice barely a vibration in the air. "I can feel their intentions. They're not just investigating. They're trying to understand." She moved silently through the maintenance shafts, positioning herself above the Karathi formation. The predator in her wanted to attack, to establish dominance through violence. But the human part, the part that remembered she was Commander Elena Vasquez, had a different idea. "Commander Zix," she called out, dropping from the ceiling to land in clear view. The Karathi weapons immediately trained on her, but she made no aggressive moves. "I'm the one who killed your soldiers." The Karathi scientists stepped back, their forms chiming in alarm, but Zix raised what might have been an arm, and they stilled. "You are changed," Zix observed, its voice like harmonized crystals. "Not standard human parameters." "No," Elena agreed, slowly circling the group, noting their positions, their weaknesses, but also their curiosity. "I've evolved. Your attack forced us to adaptation." "Impossible. Evolution requires millions of cycles." Elena smiled, the expression revealing teeth that had become slightly sharper. "Humans have always been impossible. We went from caves to stars in the blink of a cosmic eye. Now we can go further." She extended her consciousness, reaching out to the station's ecosystem. The metal scavengers responded first, emerging from vents. Then came the fungal colonies that processed the station's waste, their simple consciousness touching hers. Even, the bacteria in the air seemed to recognize her as something new, something that bridged the gap between their microscopic world and higher consciousness. "By the harmonic," one of the scientists chimed. "She's communicating with them. All of them." Zix's structure shifted, patterns Elena recognized as fascination. "Show me more." Elena closed her eyes, expanding her awareness further. She could feel Chen and Okonkwo's human minds below, bright with intelligence and fear. She could sense the Karathi, their geometric thoughts alien, but not incomprehensible. And beyond the station, she felt the planet itself, every living thing connected. In a web of consciousness she could almost understand. "Your species evolves through crystalline growth," Elena said, opening her eyes. "Predictable, stable, beautiful in its order. Humans evolve through chaos, adaptation, survival. Neither path is superior. Both have led to consciousness, to understanding." "Yet, you killed our soldiers." "They killed mine first," Elena replied simply. "But that's the old pattern, isn't it? Your kind sees chaos and tries to impose order. My kind sees order and breaks it to create something new. We've been destroying each other over a fundamental misunderstanding." Zix moved closer, and Elena's predatory instincts screamed warnings. But she held still, letting the alien commander examine her with senses she couldn't fully comprehend. "You propose an alternative?" "I propose evolution," Elena said. "Not just for humanity, but for the way our species interact." Before Zix could respond, alarms shrieked through the station. Chen's voice crackled over the communicator. "Elena, we have a problem. The Karathi mothership is charging its primary weapon. They're going to destroy the entire colony. Zix's form shifted to what Elena recognized as surprise. That is not our protocol. Then someone's changed it, Elena said. She could feel it now, reaching out with her enhanced senses, another presence in orbit, something that felt wrong even to her transformed perceptions. The purists, one of the Karathi scientists chimed fearfully. They must have taken control of the fleet. Purists? Elena asked. A faction that believes in absolute crystalline perfection, Zix explained. They see both humans and progressive Karathi as contaminants to be eliminated. Elena felt the predator surge within her, but this time she didn't fight it. Instead, she channeled it, merging human strategy with predatory instinct. Then we have a common enemy. She turned to Zix. Your scientists and my people working together, can we stop them? The mothership's defenses are impenetrable. To conventional assault, Elena agreed. But I'm not conventional anymore. Chen and Okonkwo emerged from the laboratory, Chen carrying a case of serum vials. Commander, I've been analyzing your transformation. The serum doesn't just enhance human biology, it allows for rapid adaptation to any environment, any threat. You're suggesting we create more like her? Zix asked, a note of harmonic concern in its voice. Not more like me, Elena said, understanding flooding through her enhanced consciousness. Different. Each person would transform differently, based on their own nature, their own strengths. Okonkwo stepped forward. I've been running simulations. If we could get a team onto the mothership, even a small one with diverse enhanced abilities. Suicide, Zix stated flatly. The purists will destroy anyone who boards. Elena's smile was all predator now. Let them try. She looked at the assembled group, human and Karathi, scientists and soldiers, order and chaos standing together in a damaged station on an alien world. Dr. Chen, prepare the serum. We're going to need volunteers. She turned to Zix. And we're going to need your help getting to that ship. This alliance is unprecedented, Zix noted. So is human evolution, Elena replied. The question is, are you ready to be part of something impossible? The station shook as the mothership's weapon began its charging sequence. They had perhaps an hour before it fired. Zix's crystalline form rearranged itself in what Elena had learned was the Karathi equivalent of a nod. My scientists will assist. But know this. If your evolution threatens the order of the universe itself, then the universe will adapt, Elena finished. It always has. As the unlikely alliance began to form, Elena felt something shift inside her. The predator and the human were no longer at war within her consciousness. They were merging, creating something new. Not the loss of humanity Chen had feared, but its transformation into something greater. She looked at her reflection in a darkened screen. Her eyes now held steady vertical pupils and her skin had taken on a subtle scaled texture that seemed to shift with her thoughts. She was becoming something unprecedented, but she was still Elena Vasquez. Still human at her core, just more. Volunteers, she called out, her voice carrying both human authority and predatory power. Who's ready to evolve? 3 humans stepped forward, 2 surviving Marines and a young engineer. After a moment's hesitation, 2 Karathi scientists also moved toward her. The serum won't work on us, one chimed. No, Elena agreed. But your understanding of crystalline harmonics might help us navigate the mothership. Evolution isn't just biological, it's cooperative. Chen prepared the injectors while Okonkwo modified the serum based on each volunteer's biological markers. The Marines would become hunters like Elena, but different. One optimized for speed, the other for strength. The engineer's transformation would enhance cognitive function, turning him into a living computer. The pain will be extraordinary, Elena warned them. And there's no going back. The Marine who'd volunteered for speed enhancement, Sergeant Riley, grinned. Commander, after watching you take down 6 Karathi in seconds, I'd say going back is overrated. As Chen administered the serum, Elena reached out telepathically, trying to ease their transition. She felt each transformation begin, the agony, the reconstruction, but also the awakening. Each mind touched hers as it evolved, creating a network of consciousness that included both human and Karathi observers. Riley's transformation was swift, his body elongating, muscles restructuring for impossible speed. The other Marine, Corporal Jackson, grew denser, his skin taking on an almost metallic sheen. The engineer, Peters, remained physically similar, but Elena could feel his mind exploding with new connections, processing power that rivaled the station's computers. My God, Okonkwo breathed, watching the readings. They're all different but connected, like a distributed consciousness. Not distributed, Elena corrected, feeling the network solidify. Unified. We're still individuals, but we can share thoughts, strategies, sensations. She turned to Zix. This is human evolution, not replacing what we were, but adding to it. We become more while remaining ourselves. The station shook again. The mothership's weapon was nearly charged. Can you get us to the ship? Elena asked. Zix's form shifted in what might have been determination. My transport is in the auxiliary bay, but the purist will detect us immediately. Elena felt the predatory smile return. Good. Let them know we're coming. Humanity's Edge, the Karathi transport shot through space toward the mothership, its crystalline hull refracting starlight into prismatic patterns. Inside, Elena and her transformed team prepared for what might be humanity's last stand. Riley moved with blurring speed even while sitting still, his metabolism forcing him into constant micro-movements. Jackson's metal-sheened skin had proven capable of deflecting energy weapons in their tests. Peters sat with his eyes closed, his enhanced mind already hacking into the mothership's peripheral systems. I can see their network, Peters said, his voice carrying harmonics that hadn't been there before. The purists have isolated the main ship's consciousness. The regular crew doesn't even know what's happening. Can you free them? Elena asked. Not remotely. But if we can reach the central core, Zix and the two Karathi scientists, Ven and Kier, worked at their own stations. The purists number only 30, Ven chimed. But they control all critical systems. Elena closed her eyes, extending her consciousness toward the mothership. She could feel thousands of Karathi minds aboard, most confused and frightened. But at the center, she sensed something else. A cold, perfect order that rejected any deviation from its pattern. The purest leader, she said. I can feel its mind. It's beautiful and terrible. Absolute crystalline perfection, but completely static. No growth, no change, no future. That is their way, Zix explained. They believe evolution ended when our species achieved crystal form. Any change is corruption. Then they're already dead, Elena replied. They just don't know it. Yet. The transport shuddered as tractor beams locked onto them. Through the viewport, the mothership loomed, a massive crystalline structure that looked more grown than built, its facets reflecting the cosmos in infinite complexity. Docking in 30 seconds, Zix announced. They'll be waiting. Elena stood, feeling the predator and human fully merged within her. Riley, you're our scout. Jackson, you're the hammer. Peters, find that core and free the crew. She turned to Chen and Okonkwo, who had insisted on coming despite remaining unenhanced. You two stay with the Karathi scientists. Document everything. Document? Chen asked. This is humanity's evolution, Elena said. Win or lose, it should be remembered. The transport docked with a resonant chime, the airlock opened to reveal a corridor of living crystal, its walls pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. Riley disappeared in a blur, scouting ahead. His voice came through their shared consciousness. 10 purists, heavily armed, 100 meters, ahead. Elena led them forward, her enhanced senses mapping the ship's geometry. It was beautiful, a perfect marriage of mathematics and biology, order given form. But it was also stagnant, unchanging, every pattern predetermined. The first purists they encountered never stood a chance. Riley hit them from 3 directions at once, moving too fast for their geometric thoughts to track. Jackson followed, his metallic fists shattering their crystalline weapons. Elena flowed through their formation like water, her claws finding the precise points where their perfect structures were weakest. But as they pushed deeper into the ship, the resistance grew stronger. The purists began adapting, their formations tightening, their weapons modulating to match the team's capabilities. "They're learning," Peter said, his mind racing through calculations. "But only tactically. They can't conceive of strategic evolution." Elena understood. The purists could adapt their methods but not their nature. They were still thinking in perfect patterns, unable to embrace the chaos that made true evolution possible. They reached the central core, a vast chamber where thousands of crystalline structures hummed in perfect harmony. At its center stood the purist leader, a being of such geometric perfection that looking at it hurt Elena's transformed eyes. "Abominations," it harmonized, its voice pure mathematical precision. "You corrupt the pattern with your chaos. We complete it," Elena countered, stepping forward. "Order without chaos is death. Chaos without order is destruction. Life exists in the balance. There is no balance, only perfection or contamination." The purist leader attacked, not with weapons but with pure harmonic frequency. The sound shattered the air, turning it into a weapon. Riley screamed, his speed useless against omnidirectional assault. Jackson's metal skin rang like a bell, the vibrations threatening to tear him apart. But Elena felt something else in the attack. Fear. The purist leader was afraid, not of death but of change. She reached out with her consciousness, not to attack but to connect. The leader recoiled, but Elena pushed forward, sharing her transformation, her evolution, the beauty of becoming something new. "Feel it," she said, advancing despite the harmonic assault. "Feel what we've become. Not the destruction of humanity but its elevation, not the corruption of order but its enhancement with creative chaos." Peters had reached a console, his enhanced mind interfacing directly with the ship's systems. "I'm in," he announced, freeing the crew consciousness now. Suddenly, thousands of Karathi minds flooded back into awareness. They felt Elena's transformation, experienced her merger of order and chaos, saw the possibility of evolution that didn't destroy but enhanced. The purist leader's harmony faltered. "Impossible. The pattern is breaking." "No," Elena said, now close, enough to touch the perfect crystalline being. "It's growing." She placed her hand on its surface, and through that contact she shared everything, her human memories, her transformation, the pain and wonder of becoming something new. But more than that, she shared the connection she'd found with Chen, with her team, with even Zix and the Karathi scientists. The beauty of consciousness that could change, adapt, grow. The purist leader's perfect structure began to shift, not breaking, but transforming. New facets appeared, patterns that had never existed in Karathi geometry, fractals that incorporated chaos into their order. "I feel," it harmonized, wonder replacing certainty. "I feel change, evolution, growth." Around them, the other purists were experiencing the same transformation. Not through the serum, but through consciousness itself, the recognition that perfection wasn't an end but a beginning. The mothership's weapon powered down. Throughout the vessel, Karathi crew members were discovering new harmonics, new patterns, new possibilities. "Commander," Chen's voice came through the communicator. "You need to see this." Elena found him at a viewing port, looking down at Kepler 442. The planet's surface was lighting up with patterns of light, not explosions, but connections. Every living thing on the planet was responding to the transformation above, evolution, rippling outward like waves in a cosmic pond. "It's happening everywhere," Okonkwo said, checking her readings. "The consciousness network isn't just affecting us. Every life form in range is experiencing some level of enhancement." Elena felt it too, millions of minds touching hers briefly, from the simplest bacteria to the complex ecosystems, all connected in a web of consciousness that spanned species and worlds. This is what the serum really does, Chen said quietly. It doesn't just transform individuals, it creates bridges between all forms of life. The purest leader, now transformed into something that defied both human and Karathi classification, approached Elena. Its crystalline structure still held perfect geometry, but now it incorporated flowing patterns, organic curves, chaos mathematics made manifest. I understand now, it harmonized, its voice carrying new depths. We feared contamination because we feared growth, but stagnation is the true death. Zix moved between them, its own structure beginning to show subtle changes, new facets that shouldn't exist in traditional Karathi forms. This transformation will spread throughout our civilization. Some will resist. Let them, Elena said. Evolution isn't forced. It's chosen. She felt a shift in her own body, the predatory aspects settling into harmony with her human nature. Looking at her hands, she saw they had stabilized into something between human and other, strong enough to protect, gentle enough to create. Riley appeared beside her, his speed now under perfect control. Commander, the colony survivors are returning. They're asking if it's safe. Elena looked around the transformed bridge of the mothership, at humans and Karathi working together, at consciousness itself evolving beyond species boundaries. Tell them it's better than safe, she said. It's home. Peters, still connected to the ship's systems, suddenly laughed, a sound that harmonized with the crystalline structures around them. You need to see this. The network isn't just local. I'm detecting responses from Earth, from the Karathi homeworld, from systems we haven't even explored yet. The serum, Chen breathed. It's not just biological, it's quantum, operating through consciousness itself. We've triggered something that was always possible, just dormant. Elena moved to the main viewport, looking out at the stars. Each point of light seemed connected now, part of a vast web of consciousness that had always existed, waiting for someone to activate it. The real transformation wasn't physical, she said, understanding flooding through her. It was awareness, the ability to see that all consciousness is connected, that evolution isn't about replacing what came before but building upon it. The purest leader, who now called itself Flux, embracing change as its nature, stood beside her. Your species calls this humanity, the ability to become more while remaining yourself. And your species calls it harmony, Elena replied, the recognition that all patterns are part of a greater whole. Together, Flux suggested. Together. Over. The following days, as human and Karathi worked to establish a new colony on Kepler 442, Elena felt her transformation complete. Not into the mindless predator Chen had feared, nor the perfect being the purists had sought, but something more complex. A bridge between worlds, between states of being. She stood in the rebuilt command center, watching humans and Karathi share ideas that neither species could have conceived alone. Some humans had taken the serum, each transforming differently. Healers who could sense injury at the molecular level, builders who could shape matter with thought, communicators who could translate any form of consciousness. Some Karathi had allowed their perfect patterns to incorporate chaos, becoming flowing crystal that could adapt to any environment, any challenge. But most of both species remained unchanged physically, yet transformed in awareness. They could feel the network contribute to it while maintaining their original forms. Any regrets? Chen asked, joining her at the observation window. His hand found hers, and through their touch, she felt his mind, still fully human, but aware of the greater connection. None, Elena said. The transformation didn't take my humanity. It revealed what humanity could become. And the hunger? The predatory instincts? Elena smiled, her vertical pupils dilating with amusement. Still there, but focused now. Not hunger for destruction, but for growth, for connection, for the next step in evolution. Okonkwo approached with a data pad. The Earth Council wants a full report. They're calling this the most significant moment in human history. It's not just human history anymore, Elena corrected. It's conscious history. The moment awareness itself evolved. Through the network, she felt agreement from millions of minds, human, Karathian species they had yet to meet. The universe had become conscious of its own consciousness, and that awareness was spreading, growing, evolving. Riley and Jackson had established a training program, teaching others how to handle transformation without losing themselves. Peters had become something like a living internet, facilitating communication between all forms of consciousness. And at the center of it all, Elena stood as proof that evolution didn't mean losing what you were. It meant becoming everything you could be. So what now? Flux asked, its harmonics carrying curiosity rather than certainty. Elena looked at the stars, feeling the network pulse with infinite possibility. Now we grow. We explore. We become. She paused, feeling the predator and human and something entirely new all existing within her in perfect balance. We evolve. The Serum had warned that she would stop being human. It had been wrong. She had become more human than ever, human expanded, enhanced, evolved. Not the end of humanity, but its beginning. As the sun set over Kepler 442, casting rainbow patterns through the crystalline structures the Karathi had grown and the metal buildings humans had constructed, Elena felt the network pulse with a single thought shared across species, across worlds, across consciousness itself. This was not the end of the story. It was just the first chapter of something infinite. The woman who had been dying on a mining station floor had become something unprecedented. Not a monster, not a weapon, but a catalyst for the next stage of conscious evolution. And as she stood, there hand in hand with Chen, surrounded by transformed and untransformed alike, all connected in a web of awareness that spanned the cosmos, Elena Vasquez knew one truth with absolute certainty. Humanity hadn't lost its soul in transformation. It had found it, the predator and the person, the individual and the collective, order and chaos, all balanced in perfect, ever-changing harmony. This was what it meant to be truly human. Not to remain static, but to evolve, to grow, to become. The Serum had made her unstoppable, but not in the way anyone had expected. She was unstoppable because she could change, adapt, grow. She was unstoppable because she remained human while becoming more. And as the network pulsed with the consciousness of billions, all connected yet distinct, all evolved yet themselves, Elena smiled. The universe had just become a far more interesting place. Evolution, after all, had only just begun.